Hello and welcome to Terraria. My name is Todd, also known as Magimac, and this is of course Terraria. Last time we started gathering granite. This time I think we're going to do a little bit more of the same. Um, so this time I also decided I'd think up a topic to talk about rather than just rambling and doing nothing, because we're going to be spending a lot of time underground, doing a whole lot of nothing, aside from gathering granite. Should I also... I might also decide to start building a platform that we can kind of fight the granite energy storm on, so I'm going to gather a little bit of wood here. Just a little bit. Just so we can make that platform. Oh, I should also summon my summons here. Good to go. Okay. So 100 platforms, that ought to be okay for a nice little boss arena. Let's get rid of these acorns. Don't need them. Don't need that. Don't need that. And we're just gonna run headfirst towards where we need to be. Which isn't there, is there. Okay. Alright. So the topic I decided that I would talk about this time around would be expectations. You know, recently in video game culture and mainly in the media, there's been a lot of talk about the fact that gamers tend to be very much so expecting things that they shouldn't, or that, you know, they have very high expectations for things. And of course, the main thing I'm going to relate this to was, and I'm going to of course extremely date this video by saying that this was just like a little while after the Diablo Immortal events. So, if you didn't hear any of that controversy and the things that surrounded it, there's a very large game company known as Blizzard Entertainment, and they publish games such as World of Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch, Hearthstone, and a couple others. The thing about what they did there was there was this huge snafu in their development where they announced that they would be announcing something at their event, their event being BlizzCon, a convention entirely for their games and the announcements they make. And everyone believed that it was going to be Diablo 4, or at least something similar to Diablo 4, such as an expansion for Diablo, something of that nature. Everyone kind of had that expectation. Now, the problem being is that what they announced was Diablo Immortal, a mobile game for the Diablo franchise, and as you could imagine, that made a lot of people angry. The reason that this made a lot of people angry, as you would imagine, would be for the fact that the Diablo community is a majorly PC-centric community. Now, that's not to say that there aren't gamers in it that also play mobile games or anything of that nature, but Diablo is a game that was released on computer or PC and has been majority computer ever since then. I don't believe that they've had any other releases that haven't been on a computer. So when this all happened and all went down, everybody was kind of pissed that they were kind of abandoning their community and moving on to the mobile community. Now, this kind of stems from the people's expectations to begin with, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think that their mobile game is going to be the end of the world. I don't think it's necessarily a problem that they decided to go mobile instead of the way they could have gone. I just believe that overall they should have read their crowd a little bit better than they did. That was definitely a mistake on Blizzard's part. As a multi-million-dollar company, a multi-billion-dollar company, I should say, and the fact that I'm sure they've got market research and things of that nature to be able to tell them whether or not what they're doing is going to be a mistake. They should have really planned around that a little bit better. Now, the big point that a lot of people have been in contention of is a lot of gaming journalists, though I hazard to call some people gaming journalists, as it's kind of a derogatory term somewhat nowadays, have taken to bashing on the individuals who got upset at Diablo Immortal being announced rather than something like Diablo 4. Now, is there a case that you could state they shouldn't have been so angry about something of that nature? Yes. But when you want to see change in the world, you kind of have to go out and make it happen. So it's definitely worthwhile to, go out and petition for things that you want to see happen. It's not always accepted by all cultures, but I live in America, and in America, the idea that you can make anything happen is kind of just generally accepted. Now, I definitely don't think that we should, bring down the entire system to say that everything about what Blizzard did was horrendous, that the people who worked on it deserve to die, or that it's the largest mistake that they'll ever make. I don't believe that any of that is true, necessarily. I'm sure that their stuff will make money. I just feel they should have catered to the expectations a little bit better. Because they are trying to deal in a very specific market to a very specific set of people at BlizzCon. Now, could the crowd reacted better? Sure. Could a lot of things gone differently if, say for instance, Diablo was purely mobile? Sure. It just comes down to one of those things, though, that's just to be expected, and it should have been like second nature for Blizzard to have already known all of that. So I guess what I'm trying to mainly get towards is just that there's a lot of controversy in that situation, so don't immediately think that both sides were correct, or that one side was correct and one side was wrong. Don't think that Blizzard can just get away with something like this, because it's not great for the community that has supported them to make that franchise well known, and it's not fair on the side that the community immediately panned them for doing it. But there's also a side of things in that you could talk about, which I will get to in a minute, but the major thing that I'm just trying to get to is when it comes to expectations, people have the right to have expectations for something that they believe they know. And if those expectations are not met by a company or a political group or anything really, if those expectations that you have of the world around you are not met, you have the right to speak up and say something about it. Say that you don't like this. Say that you think that it could be better if things were changed, if things were more to your liking, or if at the end of the day things catered more towards you. Now, that should also be stated that doesn't mean you won't get what you want exactly. In America, politics based around the idea that not everything works out the way we want it to always, and that there are always multiple sides to a story. And it's my firm belief that that's not completely untrue. I believe that there is a fair expectation that things should work out the way we want them to if we have a good reason for them to. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that the way we want them is the way that everyone else wants them, and we may be there for due, of course, as a minority. In those situations, we must take it upon ourselves to accept that that is the case, and that we are on the losing side of an argument, and that's just how it goes. That's the way life is sometimes. It's not always fair. I would love to make every situation perfectly fair, but that's just not the way the world works. So when it comes down to it, when it comes to this particular situation, I definitely believe that the fans had the right to be upset about the situation, had the right to petition to change that, had the right to be angry about the fact that they were pretty much ignored, or the main fan base was ignored for that game franchise in particular. That's really not great on Blizzard's parts to do that. Now, I will also state that those same fans have no rights to go out of their way to threaten, abuse, or otherwise antagonize any developer who worked their damnedest to make something for said fans. That's just not fair either. So if there is any hate that way, that's not okay. It should never be. It should never be okay. Hate should never be something that we, as human beings, allow. There should always be room for civil discussion about it, and that should be where it stops. In response to a comment I made previously, though, there is another side to this story, which I did want to quickly touch on. That's pretty much my main views on that topic. I don't think there's much more I could really say. I could make a case for the fact that Blizzard definitely could have worked harder to not antagonize the crowd while they were doing their announcements. There was definitely some shady things said there. Blizzard could have also played it off. I see kind of three major situations they could have gone with. They could have accepted the criticism and just completely shut it down right then and there. They could have continued with what they were doing, but played it off, made jokes out of it, made it more lighthearted. I feel that the way they took, which was pretty much that they held firm on what they believed and they made fun of the crowd, wasn't really a great stance, especially not when you've got a large room of people who otherwise really love what you're doing. Feel that there's definitely a lot of diplomacy that was lost there. Bringing that around full circle again, my major thoughts on the situation kind of were summarized. You have the rights to feel that it was dumb, but Blizzard also has the rights to do what they choose. They are, of course, the owner of that company. In other words, speak up if you want something done about it, but don't be mean. There's no reason to be mean. And bringing that back around for the third time, I believe that lately Blizzard's kind of stance on things has been very poor. There's been a lot of talk of the fact that they've integrated a lot of gambling practices into their games. With Overwatch, for instance, they have a system called loot boxes. When you pay for a loot box, or you get a loot box, it is opened to a set of random items, very similar to something like a scratch card or a slot machine, and overall that was seen as a very predatory practice, not very good in the eyes of the public. Some countries even banned it outright. So you can't put things like loot boxes and predatory practices in video games because video games are marketed a lot towards children. And marketing gambling towards children is not great. Now, whether or not you believe that loot boxes are gambling or not is entirely up to you. But there are countries, as I stated, that have found them to be very similar to gambling. And it is because of that that we must look at it from their perspective, is that if it is gambling, well, how do we prevent it? A lot of companies, for instance, don't have those practices, but have very good monetary, how do I put this, monetary systems. Yeah, that's how we'll put it, monetary systems. So for instance, one of the greatest examples I can think of is Warframe, another game I play on this channel. And Warframe's monetary system is that when you pay for something, you know what you're getting. And it's just that simple. When you pay for something, you know what you're buying. You can either buy their currency, which when you buy their currency, they give very specifics on how much you'll get, how much, and they also have a marketplace to show how much that currency is worth and what you can buy with it. All of that is made very clear overall. It's not perfect, but it is made very clear overall. And I believe that at like a basis level, that's a very standard way of going about things. That should be made very clear. There should be never a situation where anyone believes that they can't understand your system. That shouldn't be something that you would run into in any situation. So Blizzard's idea of taking their system and making it entirely random, meaning that when you buy something from them, such as a loot box, you have no idea what you will get, is somewhat predatory. It encourages more purchases by making it so you don't know what you're going to get when you purchase something. Now, I don't know if Blizzard has gone out of their way to fix this problem. I haven't heard anything about that system changing in Overwatch. I haven't heard anything like that. I've heard lots of different opinions about it, and that's kind of pretty much all I've heard. So if what I'm about to say is wrong, please feel free to correct me. My major point is that at no point should anyone purchasing any sort of content in a video game feel that they don't know what they're about to get. That should never be the truth of the matter. It should never be a situation where when you buy something, you don't know what you get. Imagine if you walked into a department store, for instance, and you paid $30 to pick up groceries, expecting bread, milk, cereal, and then at the checkout line, they took all that away, gave you pasta, a cook pot, and I don't know, a couple bottles of water. Like, it's just silly to even think that if we purchase something in the modern world, we don't know what we're going to get. Now, that's not to say that the business model is bad. It's obviously very profitable, as Blizzard has shown. It makes them lots of money. However, there are definitely better ways to go about things, and I believe that that entire practice in general is just poor from a consumer standpoint. From a developer standpoint, it might be quite good, as of course, as I stated, it makes them lots of money. But that comes back to the whole statement of it's predatory. It's entirely designed on making money at the expense of you as the consumer's, pocketbook and livelihood, effectively. And that's not good. At least not from a moral standpoint. Now, from a monetary standpoint, Blizzard is free to do what they wish, when they wish, and how they wish. But if you're going to be the people's friend, or if you're going to side with the sentiment that people should be allowed to know what they're purchasing, then it should be changed. Practices such as that should not be the common. Feel free to, of course, make any comments you'd like about what you believe. I'm not going to assume that I know the best all the time. That's just my personal opinion. And it also comes back around to I've seen that Blizzard has taken a lot of those principles of predatory practices and kind of expanded into other games that have similar predatory practices. One of the large ones I can think of right off the top of my head is they've been working with Activision Blizzard, or they've been working with Activision. And I don't know the relationship entirely on the law side of things of how Activision and Blizzard have been working together. I do know that the Blizzard launcher has promoted things like Destiny, which is an Activision title, and Call of Duty. And I know for a fact Call of Duty has a lot of predatory practices in it. They've been one of the first companies to sell things like DLC and make lots of money off of just selling consumers packages that previously would have been parts of games, and using practices that a lot of consumers, that is, would disagree with. Now, does it make them money? Yes. But if the sole goal is to make money, they're going to lose a lot of customers very quickly. The sole goal of a game should be, at the end of the day, in my eyes, to have fun. And if a game developer loses that quality and the games are no longer fun, and they're solely designed to make money, I believe that at a basis level they will kind of fail in the long run. Because over time, people will realize that that company is designed specifically to make money, that they don't really care whether or not you're having fun playing the game, and they lose customers. Is that entirely true? Not necessarily. Is it a good basis for a lot of things? I believe so. There's definitely been a huge backlash for predatory practices and companies that kind of solely dedicate themselves to profit. Ironic that I'm talking of profit, because in Warframe there's a expansion out right now that has a lot to do with capitalism and the darkest sides of capitalism. But I also believe in, making money, and I understand that the principles behind that are not wrong. So I don't want businesses to immediately jump on the, if it's not fun, you can't make money with it. But I believe that if a game's not fun, it won't do super well. And that should be the expected, that should be the expectation. It should be, instead of moving to making more money off of a game that doesn't seem to be succeeding, instead moving towards making a better game in the long run. Now, for instance, I come back to Warframe as a great example. They're a free-to-play game that when they started out didn't make a lot of money. The game was not fantastic to start out. It was very grindy, very kind of, I really want to say something like it was very set in its ways. It was a very specific type of game, and most people would not like that type of game, and that's understandable. But when you come back to it, there was also a lot of improvement that they made to that game over time. And it was through that improvement that they kind of made a name for themselves, because rather than charging people for that improvement and trying to get money out of them, they gave it to people for free, and then they gave people the choice to buy other things that would make more. And that was, for me anyway, that is a very commendable way to go about things, and a very morally high way to make money. I think that overall, those developers are going to be happy that they did what they did, and they're going to be enjoying the fact that the fans will give them good feedback overall, because at the end of the day, they're not trying to just take your money. They're trying to make something that's fun, to make something that the players would enjoy, and they don't want that to be hampered by how much money you've got in your wallet at the time. So that's just my opinion. Is it wrong? Is it right? I don't know. Wrong and right is very hard to dictate, especially in the world of making money and things of that nature. I just personally believe that if you want to go the moral high ground and you want to actually have your fans like you, that wouldn't be a bad step across. Alright, so we've kind of made an arena out here in this granite biome for the sole purpose of fighting the granite energy storm, and we will probably do the same thing with a marble biome eventually. We're gonna spruce up this little arena here over time. We'll probably add some campfires in later, so we can fight stuff. We've gotten tons of granite energy cores, and I've pretty much talked about everything I wanted to talk about, and forgive me if I rambled at certain parts. I was just kind of making a little bit of a point, giving us something to do while you sat around watching me build that arena there. I'm hoping this arena will come in place later on, and we'll be able to use it for more things than just what I've used it for here, but who knows. Let's put another layer, one more layer, I think. One more layer ought to do it. Let's put up one more layer. We'll go craft our armor set, and I think that will do it for us. we're definitely able to very easily farm these granite energy cores here now, thanks to the added space, and the enemies are spawning quite nicely, which is good. We definitely were having problems to start out with. We got tons of granite now as well, so we can probably make some out of granite if we want to. Maybe we'll spruce up our base with a little bit of granite decor, furniture, and things like that. Alright. Well, I don't have a lot more platforms. I am repurposing these granite platforms from the building that I tore down to make this little arena here. And I think that that's a good thing to do with them, because I wasn't really planning on doing anything else with them. Alright, so if we can get away from that guy. Alright, perfect. So we made our nice little arena now. We've left a little space here in the elevator, so we can still go down it unimpeded and not worry about getting hit. Alright, let's kill off these last few enemies, and we'll collect their cores, and we'll head back. Done and done. Much easier than I was expecting. We gathered up all we needed. Let's craft the last bits of our armor, so our helmets, and our pants. There we go. We have a set of granite armor, so we're immune to intense heat and enemy knockback. The only downside to using the granite armor is that our movement speed is slowed. So I do mean that it's slowed quite heavily. You can see how slow we're moving. Once we get up to speed, then it's not so bad, and we can counteract that with the Shield of Cthulhu. So we can get up to speed much quicker with the Shield of Cthulhu, so we can not worry so much about our lowered speed. But if we wanted to fight a boss with this armor, which we will be doing, we'll have to take that into consideration. We do have a ridiculous amount of defense, though, so that's kind of nice. Next time around, we'll probably see if... Well, actually, we can still craft a couple things. So we do want to craft an unstable core, so we can summon the Granite Energy Storm. We do want to craft the ham axe, so we can get rid of our axe and our hammer. Do we want a saber? Let's see. We could get a crossbow. That's slow though. We could get a reflector, which is fast. Let's try that and see what it does. Oh, that's a melee weapon. I didn't even realize that that was a melee weapon. We might switch to melee here then. I didn't realize we could get a boomerang this soon. We might be able to deal with the Granite Energy Storm with just our boomerang then. It'll take some time if we are able to do that, but I think we might be able to do that. Do we want the saber as well? Sure. Let's try out the saber as well. Shouldn't need too many magic spells. Do have something to heal up with our magic spells though. Alright. I think we're kind of ready for fighting the Granite Energy Storm overall. Let's throw all that in there. Oh. Blood Moon. Let's go barricade our doors. I did say we were going to fix this problem and make better defenses, but we're going to have to worry about this side because we want to expand on that side. Could make some defenses, set them up on this side though, if we wanted. Since this is kind of the edge of our house already. That'll do. It's not perfect, but it'll do. It's a little doorstop. Alright, so let's throw everything we've got in a chest. In our storage here, that is. Don't really need a war axe. Does okay damage. Not as good as what I've already got though, and the axe power is worse, so I'll probably sell that. Put that in there, let's put everything else in. we definitely have enough for making another unstable core, so if we fail, that's alright. I'm not gonna worry about it. We'll get rid of that warblade too. Put our aerospec stuff in there. Alright. So I think we're kitted out for the most part. I don't think there's anything else we could really do. We will definitely buy some potions for next time. Probably just a set of potions, because don't really have a lot of options when it comes to potions. Because a lot of them are very expensive, that is. But we'll pull out what we can right now. Archery, sure, we'll get the archery potions, just because we're using everything we can. Mining, don't need that. Heart reach might be okay. Spelunker. Okay, and we've got our infinite health potion, so I guess that'll do us for the potions we've got in here. We'll have to make sure we have enough pies, make sure we grab the potions we need from the NPC here, which I don't even remember her name. What is your name? You are the something. What are you? The brewer. We'll grab probably a full set of vanilla potions from her. Well, yeah, we'll save that for next time though. We've kind of gone a little bit long, spent a lot of time talking, and until next time, goodbye.